We gathered in the office the very next day, each of us eager to begin our investigation. Today's the day. Now, where shall we start? Let's go through the list of tenants first, then we can decide. Hudson produced the list from her bag. First we have Mr. Curtis, who lives in the innermost room. He's a kindly old man who used to play with me a lot when I was a little girl. Of all the tenants here, he's lived here the longest. Very good. Has anything been out of the ordinary with him lately? With him? There is one thing. He's been a bit slow with paying his rent. Last month and the month before that one, to be more specific. Thinking about it, I've yet to receive this month's too.
So he's likely having financial problems.
It's possible. Next is the avid traveler, Mrs. Blaw. She went on holiday to Italy a week ago and came back this morning. If that's true, then she has a flawless alibi. But we still have to see if she has anything to add whilst confirming her story. My! You're an excellent detective, Emily. You're leaving no stone unturned. Well, it isn't difficult to pretend that you've gone on holiday when you haven't. Even if she did, there's a chance she may have relevant information to pass along.
Precisely. We'll see if she's got anything to say, and hopefully in the process see evidence of her travels.
Lastly, we have Mrs. Atlee. She's very talkative, that one. I hear her husband's abroad on work-related business. Has been for some time. She loves tea, making sweets, and collecting tableware. Whenever I see her, I always end up staying ages because we get caught up in conversation. She collects tableware, you say? Does she know about your plate? Yes, she does. And I know all about her collection as well, of course.
Well, now we know who we'll be visiting. Any thoughts on who we should visit first, Emily?
Let's visit Mr. Curtis. I think we should pay Mr. Curtis a visit. He must know Hudson the best of the three, for one thing.
I've spoken to him a few times before myself. I can't say I feel very comfortable around him.
Would you prefer to stay here whilst we go and speak with him?
No! I'm coming. It wouldn't be right to send 3 ladies off without a gentleman to protect them. My pride as a man won't let me.
I should hope not. We need our wall with us.
Not that again, Marple! Wait for me! Wait!
Hello? Is anyone home? I rapped at the door. It opened soon after I heard a series of gentle footsteps, revealing a stern-looking man with a furrowed brow.
What business have you?
I hope we aren't disrupting you, sir. My name is Emily Whiteley, and this is Sara Marple. Good day. We're in the midst of investigating the burglary that took place in Miss Hudson's home 2 nights ago.
We thought it might be best to begin by asking her neighbors.
Hudson then emphatically popped from behind me. Hello, Mr. Curtis. May we ask a few questions?
Oh, Miss Hudson. You're looking well. What is it that you'd like to ask?
Wonderful. First, did you notice anything out of the ordinary 2 nights ago?
I most certainly did. Around 7 o'clock I heard the sound of breaking glass not once, but twice. The first time was fairly gentle, but the second was much louder.
And where were you at that time?
I was in my room reading. I'm not as sprightly as I once was, so I've not been going out much of late.
So you didn't go out at all that day?
No. Oh, am I a suspect? I was alone that night, so I have no alibi. But I swear on my life I didn't steal a thing.
We know you didn't, Mr. Curtis. We're only trying to see what we can find out. Have you noticed anything else strange recently?
Strange. Let's see, there was when Mr. Howard came to visit you, Miss Hudson.
He did? When was that?
A week ago, I'd say. He'd mentioned that he had something he wanted to ask you.
That is awfully strange. I didn't hear from him at all last week. He came to visit her, but left before speaking to you? I wonder what he wanted to ask her. Well, if you remember anything else, please come and let me know. I'm desperate to get my plate back.
Oh, I will. You always used to talk about it. I know how precious it is to you.
Trying to be as inconspicuous as possible, I chanced a glance at Mr. Curtis's hands. 2 of the fingers on his right hand are wrapped in bandages. Well, thank you very much for your help. I extended my right hand to him, trying to act as naturally as possible.
Anything for Miss Hudson. I only wish I had more to say.
He took my hand and shook it firmly. We then bid our farewells, but not before he used the same hand to give Hudson an affectionate pat on the head.
He softened right up once he saw you, didn't he?
He did! See? I told you it was a good idea to have me as your assistant. Have you ever shown the plate to him before, Hudson? No. Why? Never mind. It was a random thought. So he doesn't know exactly what it looks like. Let's visit Mrs. Blah. We went to visit Mrs. Blah's flat.
Your room was vandalized. How that must have given you a fright. That's not all. One of her plates was stolen in the process. That regal Dalton plate, I take it. And a lovely one it was, too.
That's the one. But I'll get it back. I swear to it.
You really did boast about it to everyone who could stand to listen, didn't you?
True beauty needs to be seen by the masses. Mom always used to say the same when she was showing it off to me. Ah, she would be beside herself if she knew it's been stolen.
I do hope you find it. Really, I do. Have you thought to consult Holmes about it? He lives in one of your flats, doesn't he?
I don't need to. I have the celebrated Detective Emily Whiteley on the case. And better yet, I'm her assistant now.
My, aren't you one of Her Majesty's detectives? Miss Hudson won't have a thing to worry about with you here. You'll try everything you can, I hope.
Absolutely. That said, would you mind if we confirm something? You came back from your holiday earlier today, right?
Oh dear. Am I a possible suspect?
Not at all, ma'am. We're only asking around to see what we can learn.
Very well. Hold on a moment.
She then reached within her handbag for a boat ticket and showed it to us.
Here's something, if it helps. The outgoing journey was a week ago, as marked here, and I returned on the first vessel that left this morning.
This has an official seal and everything. It's valid.
Might we ask you one more thing, then?
Ask me anything you'd like.
Have you noticed anything strange or out of the ordinary?
Well, it's hard to say with having been away. The only thing that comes to mind is Miss Reston visiting right before I left. Was it, the day before? I hadn't engaged her in any way, only saw her from the window. Did she come to visit you, Miss Hudson?
She didn't, no.
Really? I assume she must have had business with you. I distinctly recall her standing in front of your flat.
I see. Thank you for your help.
I'm glad to have been of service. Wait! Before you go, I bought some almond biscotti for you as a souvenir. By all means, share them with your friends.
How sweet! You really do spoil me. These are meant to be dipped in coffee, aren't they? I wonder if they'll taste any good with tea instead.
Oh, I'm certain they will.
We accepted her souvenir, and then after bidding her a fond farewell, we stepped out of the room. Let's visit Mrs. Atlee. We'll save that biscotti for later. Shall we go and pay the tableware collector Mrs. Atlee a visit? We arrived at her flat and were, with enthusiasm, hastily invited inside.
I assume you're talking about that Regal Dalton plate? The one with the floral and fruit design? Oh, it was so very elegant. I loved that piece with all my heart. Just thinking about it makes me want to gaze upon it again. And yet it was stolen, you say? It was. It had to be one of my most prized possessions.
She's not hiding how fond of it she is.
She seems a bit too fond of it, if I'm honest. Well, I can certainly understand the thief's feelings. How I'd love to keep it all to myself. Or perhaps I can adopt you and obtain it that way. You always say the most peculiar things. Is it so peculiar? I dare say there are plenty who would trip over themselves to get their hands on a plate that stunning. Like that gentleman thief Lupin, perhaps.
Lupin? Coming here? What makes you think that?
Might you be an avid reader of the London Sport as well?
Oh, are we a fellow fan? Then you must have seen the article to which I'm referring.
I'm afraid I haven't, though I see now how you two became such good tea-drinking companions. You think very much alike.
Mrs. Atlee, forgive me for asking, but where were you the night before last?
My parents came here to visit, so I was with them. We greeted a police officer out on the street, as it so happens. I'm certain they would vouch for my credibility. So they would.
Would you mind if we asked one more thing?
Not at all. What is it? Have you noticed anything unusual? Unusual? Aha! I may have! I'd placed it about a week ago. I ran into Mr. Howard in front of my flat. Mr. Howard was here? Did you not meet with him? He'd mentioned he had something he wanted to ask you. No, I didn't. He's not contacted me otherwise for a meeting either.
So even though he wanted to meet, he came and went without doing just that? I wonder what he wanted to ask her. I took a cursory glance at Mrs. Atlee's hands. Her left hand's wrapped in a bandage. Thank you for answering so many questions, Mrs. Atlee. I attempted to extend my hand to her as naturally as possible. Thankfully, she extended her own without hesitation, shaking my hand with fervor.
It was my pleasure. I only wish I could have helped more. You helped us more than enough. Have a lovely day, then.
We bade her farewell before leaving.
Lord, that was an experience.
After leaving Mrs. Atlee's flat, we all found ourselves feeling particularly tired.
Indeed, she is an unusual one.
You're the last one who ought to call others unusual.
Got her.
Shall we go over what we know so far?
On the day of the crime, Hudson was out between 6 and 9. Mr. Curtis heard the sound of glass breaking around 7. He also claims he heard the sound of it breaking twice, the first time gently, the second time loudly. Oddly, whilst the room was left in disarray, the only things stolen were the plate and the broken glass from the window.
It struck me how everyone we interviewed knew about the plate. You must boast about it left and right.
Well, I love it. I can't help it.
Still, Mrs. Blah was away on holiday, and Mrs. Atlee was with her parents, so they both have fairly solid alibis.
Mr. Curtis's age seems like it'd make sneaking in through the window difficult.
Would you mind if we had some tea as we discuss Hudson?
Right away!
Hudson sprang into motion and was off in a split second.
The hardest thing to work out here is the motive. What reason would any of them have to steal just the plate?
That really is the question. Incidentally, Mrs. Atlee is aware that it's a counterfeit.
What? She is?
Yes. She's kept it from Hudson because she doesn't want to dampen her spirits, but she told me as much rather quietly when we were on our way out.
This is a conundrum, to be sure.
With all we know in mind, there doesn't seem to be a single one amongst them who has the ability and motive to steal it. The sound of tiny footsteps and clacking china approached. It was Hudson, carrying a pot of tea and several cups on a tray. Tea is served. Thank you, Hudson. You're very welcome.
And here's another part of the mystery. Why did the culprit need to break the glass twice?
That's true. An experienced burglar could have sneaked in through the door without making a sound or broken the glass in one strike. Could they have lacked experience in burglary? What else could it be?
Also, 2 names came up during our questioning, didn't they? Miss Rustin and Mr. Howard.
We looked at the list Hudson had given us. Neither of those names are on this list from what I can see.
That's because they're former tenants. They're on this list, see?
Watson presented the previous list again, and as he said, both names were on it. What sort of person is Mr. Howard? He's a sweet man who's always been good to me. Back when he lived with his family, they would often invite me over for dinner and the like. He and his wife divorced around the same time he moved, sadly. As far as I'm aware, he now lives alone. He asked me a number of times before moving out of here to tell me her new address, but she'd requested I not say anything. I'm sorry. It isn't as though I suspect him of anything. It's all right. It's your duty as a detective to suspect everyone, and as your assistant I want to help. Thank you, Hudson.
Oh, what about Miss Rustin? What is she like?
Her? I don't know her very well. We never spoke much, and she always appeared rather grumpy. Oh, but when I was talking to Mrs. Atlee about the plate once before, she'd mentioned Miss Rustin expressed interest in it. One of her hobbies is making ceramics, apparently, so she was asking a lot of questions.
If that's so, she wouldn't be short of places to hide a plate.
Even asking about the plate is enough to arouse suspicion.
Then let's split up and question the 2 of them. We can get together once we're done. Don't stay out too late, all right?
Right. We can meet in front of the school, since that's about the halfway point.
Don't go pressing them too much. If one of us is questioning the culprit and they realize we're onto them...
We'll be careful! Very, very careful!
I'm sure you will, but make sure we're together before trying anything dangerous. Promise?
Promise. Alright, let's go! I think we split up by this point, right? This is quite a trip. Mr. Howard's home was situated on the outskirts of London and quite near to the East End. I think so. Yes, okay. We split up from Watson and Marple. So I'll skip through this bit so we can get back to our girl. Okay, gotta go. Bye, Mr. Howard. We spent more time out than we intended to. The 2 of us tried to make up for lost time by pulling up our skirts and rushing to the school.
Over here!
You took so long coming back that we decided to come and meet you. We did suspect this might happen, admittedly.
Watson! Marple! I don't know how you managed to find us. We quickly bumped into the very 2 people we were hoping to see.
We owe that one to Marple. She memorized Mr. Howard's new address.
I do apologize for worrying you so. We managed a nice chat with him. How was your visit?
Yes, well, she's moved out already, I'm afraid. And we don't know her new address.
We did have the good fortune of finding someone who helped her move. They were helping her move things at the exact time we believe the crime took place, 7 o'clock.
And there are eyewitnesses who can attest to that fact. I think we can assume she isn't the culprit.
All in all, we were able to question the 3 current tenants and Mr. Howard. After Hudson spoke, Marple addressed me in a whisper.
I'll not mince words, Emily. Who do you think did it?
The most suspicious person is... I believe it may have been Mr. Howard. He appeared anxious when we brought up the subject of Hudson's tableware. And he refused to shake my hand.
Come to think of it, during the case of the Benjamin family, the thief hadn't committed the theft because they were in need. They were someone the family knew and trusted. Their motives were less related to money and more because they wanted the family to owe them a debt.
So you suppose this case mirrors that one, then? That our thief stole Hudson's plate to put her in their debt.
Watson managed to enter the conversation without Hudson noticing.
I'm thinking so, yes. Did you happen to see a pattern during our questioning? Everyone we met was delighted to see her. They all thought very well of her.
Watson, might I ask you a favor?
What is it?
When we're finished here, will you come with me somewhere? And Marple, can you see Hudson back to Baker Street?
Well, of course, but what for?
I take it you have something in mind, Emily.
I do. Would you?
All right. Leave her to me.
Okay. So we can guilt this guy into giving back the plate. Alright. Did I miss anything? I don't think I did.
Oh, thank goodness! Miracles do happen!
No. I've always liked this picture. Clutched in Hudson's hands was her beloved plate.
I went to bring in the morning paper, and there it was at the front door, all wrapped in a box with a ribbon, if you can believe it. Some virtuous hero must have found it and returned it to me. I see Lupin's found himself a rival.
That's one possibility.
This is wonderful, Hudson. It isn't damaged in any way, is it?
It's in perfect condition, exactly as it was when I lost it, right down to the detail of the paintwork. It is, without a doubt, my plate. A welcome home, darling. You don't know how I've missed you.
Hudson seemingly let out all her energy in one monstrous heave before hugging and kissing the plate in an over-exaggerated fashion. Tears of happiness filled her eyes. She couldn't have possibly looked any more jubilant.
If the hero who returned this ever comes to visit, I'll have to give them a big thank you. And some of my best tea, of course. You really believe in there being a hero of justice?
Come now, Watson. Let her believe. She's happy, and that's all that matters.
Are you alright with this, Emily? It's only because you decided to revisit Mr. Howard that she got it back.
Whilst Watson was pouting, the door opened, and a familiar voice could be heard from the other side of it. Okay, I don't know if Marple talks again. Okay, we're gonna skip some of this. Are you still talking? Okay, she did say you're still talking, but that's about it. Okay. We're the worst liars ever. What did she say before that?
An enjoyable farce it is, then. Hudson has her plate back, and you've procured an adorable assistant. All's well that ends well.
You're so calm about all of this.
Be that as it may, I'm not letting her take my spot by your side.
That's an uncharacteristically childish statement from you.
I'm not behaving as childishly as you, thankfully. Taking out your frustration on a young girl is absolutely juvenile.
Juvenile? What a grave misunderstanding we have on our hands. What I said earlier was for her own good.
This is why I shouldn't have children, blah blah blah. Marple, in comparison, looked much more weary.
I see your investigation in Edinburgh didn't go very well. And now you return and find yourself feeling left out, which is what prompted this. How right am I?
Congratulations on conjuring up a theory, Miss Marple. Now, don't you think it's time you were leaving?
I shall leave when Emily leaves.
Aww. I was sulking. Okay, I think that's it. And I think we need to write in our diary. Yes. I'll do this bit. Perhaps I should write in my diary. Choosing what to write about today was easy, at least. I had to write about my new assistant, Hudson.
It's a good thing you don't have to search, then. From now on, I'm your assistant.
Excuse me. She works so very hard. How could anyone say otherwise when she looks after a block of flats at her age? She's quickly become like family to me, and given how level-headed she is, I have plenty I could stand to learn from her. With her as my assistant, I shall need to step up my efforts to become a fine detective. Okay. So, didn't write about Miss Marple, but that's okay. She's not gonna let Hudson take her place by our side. Okay, so we're gonna do part of this. I'm gonna skip most of it. Okay, don't engage Jack. What's next? Okay, I have to call out to Akachi and Kobayashi. And then... Okay. Same as always, classified documents on major crimes. And I will actually play out that scene, because Marple comes along. Let me see if I can find anything among the books on crimes. Mary, Queen of Scots, used a cipher when exchanging letters with the other conspirators in the plot to assassinate England's queen. A book that details the plot ought to have more regarding the cipher. The case is known as the Babington plot, I believe. Is there anything? No, I need to let the timer run out. I started looking in the bookshelves farther inside the library. I searched through the top shelf of a particular bookcase after borrowing a stepladder, upon which good fortune finally came to me. Here we are! The Babington plot, execution, and error. This is perfect! I extended my hand out as far as I could reach, and just as I thought I had it... No! I lost my balance. I'd fully expected a harsh landing on the floor, but no such thing came. Rather, the landing was a soft one. We're gonna see this scene next time as well.
You're heavy.
What? Jack? Why are you under me?
Never mind it. Just get off. How did you not see I was here?
Beg pardon. My mind was so wrapped up in the cipher business that I wasn't paying proper attention.
Ugh.
As I stood, Marple appeared from a neighboring bookshelf. Everything all right? I heard a loud noise.
She fell from the ladder and onto the roof.
Nothing at all, Marple. I only happened to drop a book, that's all. I'd moved to cover Jack's mouth at such a speed that I nearly looked as if I were slapping him.
Oh, was it the book you needed, Emily?
I believe so. I'm absolutely certain it will have what we're looking for.
I'm glad to hear that. And if I may politely observe, I never knew you were so friendly with one another. Very interesting.
Marple left the conversation at that and wandered off to a nearby bookshelf, being all sad. Alright, I'll leave you alone, Jack. And now let the timer run out. I look forward to falling on you again in the future and seeing your soft smile. Time is up. What's next? Okay. I flipped through the pages of the book in my hand, skimming its contents carefully. And with success at that, I soon stumbled upon the page containing a table for the cipher used in the Babington plot. Let's start by decoding your message, Marple. This is the cipher used in the Babington plot, isn't it?
That's right. This should be simple work now we have that book.
Right. Let's begin at the top.
That sounds wise. The first word would be...
The first word is my. It's my, isn't it?
That's right. Seems we'll get through this in no time.
Absolutely. Grand. We did it. Okay, now I need to let the timer run out again. Oh, this is with opening the box. Interesting. So I don't open the box. Okay, alright. I've never done this before. The right panel goes upwards. Huh? It won't budge. I started to wonder if I might have misremembered. Should I try again? No, I need to give up. Dash it. This isn't working. I'll have to start from the beginning.
We haven't the time, Miss Whiteley. Whatever it is you're doing can wait.
I'm sorry. I'll be right there. Forgive me, Akachi. I wonder why we had to do that. The guilt came to me in a small wave before it was gone by the rush of our next destination. Couldn't I have just let them leave? That's not right. I wanted to look at my status. Okay, well, he's even. Lupin's not. Oh, that's fine. Okay. So we're gonna skip a little bit, but I need to make sure I don't go too far. This is so funny. Okay. I'm gonna just be very careful. Alright, here we go. What? How did this get here? I felt a folded piece of paper in my pocket and removed it to read its contents. This is written in the cipher used in the Babington plot. So it's from Marple. Let's see if I can decode this. Would you care for some tea at Fortnum and Mason after we finished here? I'm craving something sweet at the moment. Oh, Marple. All this for an invite to tea. Marple, standing next to me, returned my smile with a playful wink. Daw. She was always going to be a funny one to me. By any stranger's sight, she was a beautiful girl with a range of expressions which gave away little. And yet I knew her as the girl who only had a mind for sweets. I folded the message and placed it carefully in my pocket. Excellent. Alright. This is the picnic day, I believe. And after this, we'll be back on the, we'll be at the end of the common route, so. Let's invite everybody, except for Marple. Do her last. I think I'd watch, right? Yes. Grand. Alright, Lupin, I gotta play a joke on you. I always remember you very easily. Okay. Hudson. Join in the fun. Okay, next is Akachi. Watch him sleep. And then my dear Seiji. Alright, so now we get to try different stuff with Marple. We come here together and now look at her. She's run off and started drinking tea on her own. True to Marple's preparedness, she had made herself plenty comfortable on the grass and was idly sipping from her cup. I think let's do this first. I don't think this will go well. I noticed she'd not only come prepared with tea, but with some reading material as well. She had an open book atop her lap. She appeared so distracted between the two that a rather naughty idea couldn't help but spring to mind. You know, I don't believe I've ever seen her lose her composure before. Well, no time like the present. Easy does it. I slowly but surely tiptoed up behind her. Now! And as I was ready to pounce and give her a good scare.
May I help you, Emily?
Marple turned around with disturbingly apt timing. Ah! Oh! When did you notice?
When you thought to sneak up on me.
You would have done well to say something sooner.
Perhaps, but I wasn't certain if you needed me or if you were taking a very peculiar stroll.
Don't be silly. You knew what I was doing. In the end, my plan backfired spectacularly.
So, what did you want from me?
Well, it's almost time for lunch. I was wondering if you might be interested in joining everyone for it.
Don't mind me. I'll join soon, but could you wait a little longer? A while longer, rather.
How come?
Something very interesting's come up in this book, and I should like to read what happens next.
Ah, I see. With that said, she fell silent and resumed reading her novel. I suppose I'll have to come back later. Like right now. And try the other option. See if she notices us. I quietly took a seat next to Marple. With a small breeze came a delightful fragrance wafting towards me from her teacup. Your tea's bright orange, and its fragrance reminds me of... gall, perhaps?
My, you're absolutely right. You know of it.
Both its coloring and the floral fragrance are unmistakable.
I am impressed, Emily. I presume you learned as much from Pendleton?
Indeed. He serves me multiple kinds of tea every single day.
Spoken like a true noblewoman. Now, was there something you wanted to say to me?
I was hoping to ask if you would join us all for lunch. We came all this way for a picnic, and it'd be a shame not to enjoy it together, yes?
I agree, but I'll be along later. I still have some of my tea left, and I should like to savor it in private.
Very well. I know better than to get between Marple and her tea.
Thank you. I'll see you in a bit.
I left her to enjoy herself and surveyed the area for anyone else who might wish to join. Like her again. Those are two very cute interactions, nonetheless. I was about to call out to her, but a thought occurred to me. If I simply ask her to join us, she might well say no. I know! I have the perfect way to go about this. Marple, do you have a moment?
Hello, Emily. I do, but please make it brief.
We came all this way to have a picnic, so why not come and eat with everyone?
My apologies, but I'll pass for the moment. I'd like to finish this book today. I'm rather anxious to find out what happens next, you see.
I thought she'd say that. And here's where I go in for the attack. That's a right shame. I think you would like the food we have on display. It looks absolutely divine. There's even some of your very favorite maids of honor, if I remember rightly.
Oh? Is there now?
It's working! One more push! Yes, yes. We also have some tea imported just yesterday from India that I'd love for you to try. First flush, you know. Marple closed her book with an impressive clap and stood.
Let us be off at once, Emily. I must sample this tea before it loses its fragrance.
Marple stood up and I stood next to her. I still have Jack to invite, so would you mind going ahead and waiting for us there?
All right. Good luck then. I'll be waiting.
All right. We parted ways and I set off to gather Jack. Everyone agreed. Okay. Just call out to him. Come and hang out. And we'll just do part of the picnic and then skip again. As we were the last to arrive and the weather was still beaming, lunch was soon to begin. All right, please have your fill. One by one, I'd taken out the lunch boxes from the basket Pendleton had prepared for me. There's more than enough, Jack. I'll need you to eat as much as you can stomach. A typically cold response, but he didn't leave, which I considered enough of a success. As for you, Marple, here's the maids of honor you were promised. They're in here, so eat as many as you like.
They look splendid.
Seemingly impressed, she happily helped herself. I'd love it if you would try mine as well. I put my whole heart into making them.
Oh, thank you. It would be my pleasure.
All right. I think on that note, we can safely skip again. She's gonna help us pack our picnic basket! This is so exciting! Sanji never helped us pack our picnic basket! I'm unreasonably happy about this. Girl, I love you. Have I ever told you?
That looks like a fair bit of work, Emily. Shall I help?
Oh, Marple. I'll be all right on my own, you know.
Don't be that way. Come now, let me give you a hand.
Marple went right to work, picking up everything next to me with practiced efficiency.
This fog really has gotten thick.
It certainly has. We need to get to the carriage before it gets worse. As I'd started panicking, I hastily retrieved all the baskets and stood. Then, as I turned to where Marple should have been standing next to me, she also abandoned me. I saw nothing except a wall of dense fog. Marple? No response came. I wasn't fond of being alone like this. I could feel an inexpressible sense of nervousness well within myself. Where are you, Marple? I made to move in a panic before being stopped. The one time the person didn't walk off into the fog and leave us to die was our girl. My heart. Oh, best girl. I know you're only girl, but best girl. Oh, I could kiss you.
Don't worry, Emily. I'm right here.
I felt her gently take my hand. Seeing her smile, all that nervousness that had building was gone in an instant. You really frightened me, I'll have you know. I thought you left me by my lonesome.
You're something of a scaredy cat, aren't you?
I can't help it.
I'll give you a little secret. I was scared too. Let's stay here until the fog clears.
Of course. Marple being next to me was a great comfort, and together we waited for the fog to clear. Does this mean I don't have to go into back alleys and see weird, mysterious figures? That's what it means! Marple! I love you, girl!